Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. You guys, today I'm so excited. I'm covering Bridgerton, Season 1, Episode 8, After the Rain. This is the finale episode. It was so good. It tied up some stuff. It told us some answers. Let me just stop right here and say we are going to discuss it all. We're really going to go into this one. We're going to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, stop me now. Go watch it. It's on Netflix. I implore you, go watch it. So that way you're not surprised by the stuff I'm going to talk about. But, okay. So assuming you've seen it, let's get into it. I am elated to be talking about this episode. I'm also very sad because it's the last episode. Now, I just found out they are renewing for Season 2. I'm super excited. I actually heard a rumor that there are going to be like 8 seasons, I believe. I don't know. I'm here for it. I love it. I can't get enough. Okay, so it starts off with Whistledown talking about this fast courtship, and no one can know the truth of what a marriage is hiding behind closed doors, and we see flashes of everybody's sucky situations. So we got the Featheringtons, where the husband's lying, covering up his gambling problems. We got Bridgerton, where she's waking up alone and sad about it. Even the Queen, who's dealing with her husband, who is struggling with some mental issues there. And then we go, of course, to Duke and Duchess of Hastings. So, Duke and Daphne. They are posing for a portrait. Now, remember, they are going to be holding a ball soon. So, they're posing for this portrait. And the artist that's painting them is telling them, you should smile, you should draw closer. And the Duke is telling her that he will be departing London. She asks him to please wait until the end of the season. She asks for him to be at the ball that they're throwing. And then she says, then the ruse will be over. Meanwhile, the artist is asking for them to touch. And that's a very smart move because even though they are fighting and can't see eye to eye, as soon as he touches her, it's just, that electricity that I love. They do such a good job here showing how they're feeling and the emotion behind it. And it just draws me in so much. And his face. He's so cute. I swoon over him every episode. Okay, so he puts his hand on her and they lock eyes, and that's my favorite scenes when they do that sort of thing. So they stare into each other's eyes, and the artist says, now this is the very picture of devotion. We over at the Bridgerton house. Eloise is asking about Genevieve Delacroix. Now, of course, that's the dressmaker, and we found out that Benedict is into her. So he says, okay, so what it is she thinks that Madame Delacroix at this point is still she thinks she's Lady Whistledown. And that's what I was kind of thinking too. But she's warning him to be careful. And he says because she has a profession, is she less deserving? He doesn't understand what she's talking about. She's telling him be careful because she thinks that that's Lady Whistledown. So then Penelope goes in to check on Marina. And Marina says that she thinks the tea has accomplished what she needed it to. She doesn't think she's with child anymore. Sorry for everything she's done and said. And she says certain one day that Colin will see Penelope in the way she wants him to, and that she's been good to him. So then we see Marina, or we see somebody ride up in a carriage outside, and Marina freaks out. So just like everybody did, we assume that this is her, what is his name? Sir George, I think, coming to rescue her. Unfortunately, we'll find out later that's not the case. Let's see. So then we go over to Mom and Daphne, and Lady Violet Bridgerton, aka Mom, says that Daphne must forgive the Duke. She knows they've been fighting. She's telling Daphne, just forgive him. Daphne says the Duke is honoring some sort of grudge against his father. How will she forgive that? Then Lady Featherington approaches Daphne and Lady Bridgerton, and asks about an invitation to Daphne's ball for her daughters. Daphne says that she can extend an invitation. Her mom wasn't into it, but Daphne does extend the invitation. Let's see. Portia Featherington learns that there is a carriage at her house, so she swiftly runs off. So let's talk about this. What are your thoughts? I understand why Lady Bridgerton wouldn't want to invite Portia to the house because she's awful. But I think it's cool that Daphne extended the olive branch, and she's like, I think she knows what a terrible person that Portia is, but she doesn't want her daughters to miss out because her mother sucks. So back at the Featherington house, everybody's rushed home because this carriage has arrived. And we find out that the man there is Mr. Crane. It's not George. It's not the man that Marina loves, but it's his brother. And unfortunately, he didn't know she had written. He found the letters, and he came to bear the grim news that unfortunately George did die on the battlefield several weeks ago. He was writing to Marina to tell her that he loved her and to say that they would run away and marry and have their baby. And they found this half-written letter to her. And, such a heartbreaking story. So she says all this time he loved her. She thought that he was a villain, and he wasn't. And she was completely wrong. So heartbreaking, sad. She's been through too much. I don't love Marina, the character, but I thought the actress did a great job. Really heartbreaking scene. I hated to see all this. So then we go to Eloise, and I do really like Eloise. She's spunky, she's fun. I didn't love Eloise in this scene. So she's convinced this dressmaker, Genevieve Delacroix, is the Lady Whistledown. She says, I need a dress for her sister's ball. She's saying that the Featheringtons are still stung by the stuff from Lady Whistledown. So she thinks she's putting in a good word for the Featheringtons. She's not helping. And so she's trying to put in this good word. Meanwhile, we see that Benedict has been with the dressmaker, we'll say, and is hiding in the other room and laughing because he doesn't quite follow what Eloise is doing. Let's see. So then the dressmaker says, I don't know why you're here, Miss Eloise, but I know you care about the people in your life. I have no intention of compromising anyone. So it's a very weird conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil. We all know what happens. So obviously she is not Lady Whistledown. I thought she might have been. She's not Lady Whistledown. So then what did she think that conversation meant? I was a little confused about that, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. What do you think she meant? Who does she think... What does she think Eloise is trying to get from her? The only thing I could come up with is the dressmaker knew that Marina was pregnant, and she's maybe imploring her not to say anything about that. Okay, so Daphne is getting her house ball ready. She goes to look for the Duke. They run into each other. He's sexy. He's brooding. Here you go. He's headed to Will's boxing match, and she says, what did your father do to make you take that vow in the first place? Talking about the vow not to have an heir. And he says, Daphne, I'm doing this for your own good. You'd be better off without me. And he walks away. I just want these two to work this out. It's so hard to see them like this. So we go over to Will's boxing match. And this was so interesting. I did not know where they were going this. Such an interesting storyline. So Will's wife is saying, win the fight and we'll take the fights around the city. We'll travel together. He says he can't fight like this forever, and he says, perhaps I lose this one. Perhaps the purse will be enough to keep us happy. At the same time, we see Baron Featherington walking around. He wants to place a sizable wager on the match. Okay, so he finds these two men, right? And they're like, why are we here? And he says it's going to be sizable. He ends up handing them the deed to his house. I was shocked by this scene. I think I literally gasped because I just couldn't believe how stupid this man is. So stupid. Okay. So then we see, they're still prepping for the fight. The Duke arrives. Will is staring intensely, and he sees the Duke. And he also makes eyes at Baron Featherington, and the Duke kind of sees that something's up, and he's not real sure what's going on. He doesn't know what's happening yet. Will, come on, man, do the right thing here. Don't do this. This is crazy. Oh, man. So back at the Featherington house, George's brother is there, and he's wishing to speak to Marina. So, shockingly, the brother has decided to propose. He feels like it's his duty. He says that he should take care of his brother's intended and, his child and stuff. I keep calling her Lady. It's Baroness Featherington. She says it's great, and he has a title, a great estate to support them, and she says he can support you and your distant cousins as well, the Featherington girls. And I'm thinking, everybody except for Penelope hasn't been very nice to her. Why would she support them? She says, I don't love this man. I cannot marry him. And the brother says, George would have wanted you looked after and supported. Let me honor my late brother's wishes. So she tells Philip to take his leave, and he wishes her all the best. And Baroness Featherington is pissed. She says, what have you done? That was a perfectly acceptable proposal. She says she's no longer with child, so no more participating in schemes. So she thinks that this is the end. She's over it. So, yeah, again, we know what's coming. That's not exactly what goes down. Meanwhile, Daphne is going through the Duke's dad's office, and she's looking for something to try to give her a clue as to what the heck went down between the Duke and his dad. That's when she finds all the unopened letters. We saw this in earlier episodes. Simon had written his dad. His dad's a scumbag. Never opened the letters. So she sits down and starts reading through them, and she gets emotional reading how much the Duke loved his dad, and she's realizing that it wasn't returned, that the dad was terrible. He wasn't even a father. Meanwhile, over at the fight, Will is dodging all the punches. So we see Anthony and his brother sitting together, and Anthony starts making eye contact with Sienna. Sienna is there with another man. They're holding hands, but we still see them looking intensely at each other. They end up sneaking off together, and they have a hookup. So he's pining for her, but she's not sure if it's real. It's going to come to a head. I don't know about this storyline, you guys. I'm not a big fan of Anthony. He makes a lot of really bad choices. I don't even mean in his love life. I just mean like at the beginning when he was trying to get Daphne to marry that scary old man. So I'm just not a fan of his, but we'll see. I heard season 2 is going to focus more on his journey, so we'll see what happens there. I'll still watch it. Okay, so Will goes down. He loses the fight. Featherington freaks out, saying, I won. And he's so over the top about it that the Duke looks at his friend Will and realizes he's taken a dive and what's happened. And meanwhile, the two skeezy men who took the bet are seeing the same thing, that Featherington's over the top and that Will has basically taken a dive on this one. So hard to see. It's hard to see the Duke realize what's happened too. Daphne's realizing what happened as well. She's startled by Lady Danbury when she's reading the letters. She asks her if she knew about the letters the Duke had written his father, and of course, Lady Danbury knew. She knew about the situation, of course, because she was around him when he was younger and helped him out. But Lady Danbury kind of shed some light that the father expected nothing but perfection, and when he didn't get it, he turned his back on his son. So heartbreaking. This makes me love Lady Danbury even more because she did the opposite. She was there for him. And I think it just opened up Daphne's eyes to the complex relationship and how much how much we love Lady Danbury and we hate his dad and ultimately love the Duke. Okay, back at the fight area, that Baron Featherington comes out of the fight tent smiling. The Duke confirms what he knows. He comes in and says that Will put on quite the performance. And he says he should have come to him if he needed more investment. And what happened to your honor? And Will says, what could be more honorable than taking care of your family? Will says, worry about your own marriage. So I hate this. I don't want these two to fight. They've been such good friends, and they're there for each other. And I didn't like this part at all. Plus, I hate doing business with Baron Featherington. So meanwhile, over at the Featherington house, Baron comes home, and Baroness Portia is there, and he dumps all this money on the desk and says, Portia, our problems are solved. She says, the young ladies shall have new dresses in the morning. So you can see where their priorities lay. He's thinking, oh, I've ruined us, but now I unruined us. And now all she's thinking about is new dresses for the girls. So then it's back over to the Duke and Daphne's, and I love seeing their place. It's beautiful. The Duke goes to breakfast, and he's surprised to see Daphne at the table. So they've been apart quite a bit because of all the fighting, but she's sitting there, and she's watching him eat in silence. They make eye contact, and she asks him to join her to her family's house this morning. He says yes, and she is very happy about that. So then we see the Duke and Daphne go back to her family home. Hyacinth is there, and she's hanging on the Duke, asking for stories and just to, to play. And he's so sweet with her. And Daphne for sure notices. She's looking on and smiling, and it's just so cute to see that. Penelope walks in. She sees Colin singing, and she's happy. It's just a sweet moment. She really wants him. She ends up talking to Eloise, who tells Penelope that she believes Madame Delacroix is Lady Whistledown, and she wants to be like her. She really wants to be unmarried and a businesswoman, and Penelope says that that's not an option for her. So then we're back at the Featherington house, and they get dresses delivered. Now that they've been able to pay Madame Delacroix, they have this special delivery. Everyone is very happy, except for Penelope, who says, oh, another yellow dress. So you get the feeling that Mom is controlling everything. She makes them wear the dresses she wants them to wear. Penelope's the only one with any personality and wants to do her own thing. Let's see, Baroness Portia Featherington says to Philippa, now that you have a dowry again, you should consider taking up your suitor on his proposal. I think it's Mr. Finch. And Philippa's like, what? Again? She never knew that the dowry was lost. Marina's walking. She makes a surprised face, clutches her stomach, and tells Baroness that she does need a doctor. And the dressmaker is there at that time, and she's looking on. So then we go over to the final ball of the season. Now this is at Daphne and Duke's. Lady Whistledown says it either has anticipation or dread because it's the last ball of the season. Those who have been successful look forward to flaunting their joyous unions while others shudder. And the evening signifies that time is truly up. So then we go over to Marina, who is crying. The doctor is telling her that the tea didn't rectify the situation. So she's still with child. Kind of shocking to hear. So it's going to, it makes sense for the way that this ends, but it's going to force her hand to figure out what she wants to do about things because that didn't take care of the situation. Meanwhile, we see Anthony and Sienna in bed together. He's telling her that it's the last ball of the season, and he says he shall not be anywhere near the dance floor. She says, what's the fun in that? They're kissing, and he says, come with me tonight. And he says, I'm a Viscount, my sister is a Duchess, there will be no one who would dare say a thing. So it seems like she's interested, but she's scared, and she's saying, it's preposterous, and he says, I want you there by my side, come with me. And they kiss. Such a strange storyline. So I think, again, if season 2 is about his love life, maybe this is all setting that up, like trying to decide what what's going to happen, what's going to come of Anthony. So we go back over to the ball. The Duke sees his wife. They're walking down the stairs. I just love this so much. So I'm going to give you a little behind-the-scenes stuff that I read. So this ball was filmed. It's meant to look outside. It was actually inside on a sound stage. And the reason they did that is because when it rains and they have to flood the ballroom, that's the only way they can control where the water went. They had a drainage system and how it flowed and what it would ruin, that sort of thing. So just interesting because they did such a good job with it. I love the scenery. I love the way they decorated it. They did make it feel like it was outside. So they're looking at the picture. Things are still weird between Duke and Daphne. I just want these two to get on with it and just make it work out. So everybody is there and dressed so beautifully. I love this set. I can't say enough good stuff about it. The Duke sees Will and his wife, and they nod, and it appears like his wife has new jewelry on, and they seem happy. Eloise makes her grand entrance. Daphne tells her that she looks exquisite, and Eloise is saying she's actually glad she came. Eloise thanks Daphne for being perfect, so she doesn't have to be. And Lady Violet Bridgerton overhears that. So the Featheringtons arrive, and Finch is there. He's the one courting Philippa. And the others, they all greet the Featheringtons. They say they heard that Portia's husband had a win the other day. And is he out celebrating? So the word is kind of spreading like, oh, we heard he won big. Is he celebrating? So we go to him. And this was kind of a shock to see. He seems to be I thought he was at the artist's house, but I believe it's just maybe a brothel. And he's asking if something's ready for him, and they say, yes, only the best for you. He walks into a room. He's confused when it's empty, and the two men who he gave the deed to the house for, the guys who loaned him the money, tell him to sit. So it's ominous. It's scary. We know something bad is about to happen. So goes back over to Colin, who greets Penelope. He says, I owe you an apology. You were trying to prevent me from heartache with Miss Thompson. I was a fool. And this was heartbreaking too, because he seems like he might be about to say, I've been a fool all along, and it's you, Penelope, I want. But no, he says basically he realizes that more than anything he wants to go, he'll go travel. So he's going to leave the next day for the Mediterranean. He asks her to dance, and she says no, she's all danced out because her heart would be too broken. Oh, Penelope. She wishes him good luck on his tour. And this kills me because I really want Penelope to find happiness. I love her. She's been one of my favorites all along. And she needs to get away from a wretched family and find somebody very nice and have a happy life. Eloise stops Penelope because she's completely obsessed with unmasking Lady Whistledown, and she realizes Penelope's upset and trying to comfort her, and she ends up going to talk to the Queen. She carries on with her mission to find out about Lady Whistledown, and along the way to talk to the Queen's guy, helper, whoever, stops her and says one does not approach the Queen. But upon talking to him, she figures out, remember the Queen put somebody on figuring out who Lady Whistledown is. So he reveals that they're going to unmask her identity tonight. Eloise says he's so smart to figure out who it is. And because she's flattering him, he lets her know it's, again, tonight that they'll unmask. So she goes to tell the brother to tell the dressmaker to stay home. He won't listen because she, again, thinks that's Lady Whistledown. Anthony, let's see. Oh, and then she gets in a carriage. Anthony goes to see Sienna to pick her up for the ball. And the man she's been seeing answers the door. So, shocker. She's decided to stay with this man. And, honestly, Anthony's been jerking her around the whole time. I don't blame her. She was just protecting her heart and herself. And she sends that man away so she can just talk to Anthony, and she says, "You're lost, and I can't allow you to set me adrift as well. You need to let me go." He says, "I've been unfair," and she says, again, "Let me go." And she says, "The man upstairs sees me for who I am. He doesn't wish for me to change, and neither do I. You need to let me go." So Anthony cries and says, "You're right. I'm so sorry, Sienna," and he leaves. So Eloise has taken this carriage and decided to go wait at the printers where she thinks Lady Whistledown will be when everyone is at the ball. Eloise sends she's reading her notes and thinking about all this. And while she's there, the carriage driver warns her that there's another carriage approaching. So she's so excited, thinking she's finally getting to figure out who Lady Whistledown is. Well, at the same time, a man comes running up. It's one of the Queen's men, comes running up to see who Lady Whistledown is as well. She sends Lady Whistledown away, thereby saving her identity, but also not realizing who she is. So she cheated herself out of the experience, but all to save Lady Whistledown's identity. So that was a nice move. I was kind of surprised by how that all went down. So then we go back to the ball, and the Duke is staring at the Duchess, and Lady Danbury walks up and says, "Your plans to separate from Her Grace have not changed," and then says, "Pride will cost you everything and leave you with nothing. You must allow it to happen to you too." Like, she's just telling him to do the right thing here. Be with your wife. Be happy. Choose happiness. Don't let, this thing with your father ruin your life, because he is. He's letting it ruin his life and dictate even beyond the grave what he's doing. We see Daphne and her mom, and they talk about how it's different for men. And everything is different for them. And Mom says she misses dancing with Daphne's father. And Mom says they had many difficulties, but they overcame them. They made a decision to overcome them together. We chose to love each other every single day. It's a choice one has to make. Daphne says she wishes there was something she could do. And Mom says, "You're a Bridgerton. There's nothing you can't do." And I love that. I love that scene between them. I've loved Lady Bridgerton throughout. I thought it was a fantastic scene. So then we see that the waltz begins. Everyone gathers around to watch. And Daphne and the Duke stare at each other, and they hop around the dance floor. We see the Queen and Lady Danbury and Lady Bridgerton watch on, and as they're dancing, it begins to rain. And I love this so much. So it's raining, and he tries to pull her off the dance floor. Everybody's clearing, but she stays in the rain. Even her portrait gets rained on, and he's staring at her, just shocked by, I think, everything. I think they're both tired. They're tired of fighting and tired of it all, so they just stare. He seems happy to see that she's so happy, and it's just such a neat moment. So Lady Danbury says the evening has concluded. Everyone can thank them in the morning. Everyone should go. There's a great scene where this other couple here was trying to go out on the dance floor, and Lady Danbury threw her cane up to stop them because she realized it's an important moment between the Duke and the Duchess, and they needed that time to make up, get reacquainted, have sex, whatever they're going to do. So everybody leaves, and she says, for even a Duke can't control the weather, and he says, I know it's not what you have envisioned for the evening. And she says, "No, it's better." And she says, "I know why you made the vow to your father. I read your letters. Just because something's not perfect doesn't mean you should be without love. Your father was wrong for making you believe otherwise. Should you need proof, look, just here. I'm tired of pretending. I can't continue acting as if I don't love you. I do love you. All of you, even the parts that you believe are too dark and shameful, every imperfection, I love you. She says, you can choose differently, Simon. You can choose to love me as much as I love you. And that can't be up to anyone else, only up to you. They stare at each other, and she ends up walking away. Oh, such a good scene. One of my favorites of the entire series. It's just so incredible, so well acted, so well done. I love the rain. It brought it all together. It's fantastic. And for the absolute shock of the night, we go over to the Featherington house. And they're walking in, they're talking about Mr. Finch and Philippa. And we see that everyone, all the housekeepers and all the house staff are lined up. And we're told, my lady, there's news. It's your husband. And they're saying that he's passed away. And people have questions. So Baroness Featherington goes running. She's shocked. She runs into the office where he had dumped out all the money. She goes in the office to look for it, and she's screaming and crying, and there's no more money. So what does this mean? Where did he take it with him? Did they come in and get it? I don't understand. They realized it was a bad bet. They took it back. So now are they completely destitute? Because that's how it seems. In which case, this could be super interesting setup. Because remember, Marina, well, we know what's about to happen with Marina, right? And that man does very well. So is she going to have to support the family? Very curious what's going to happen there. In which case, all I could think of is, did you ever see that movie Ever After with Drew Barrymore, where the stepmother treated her so terribly? And when she married was the prince, she said, I want to treat them how they treated me. So they were forced to do like manual labor forever. Okay, so on to Daphne, who is laying down after the ball. The Duke walks in and says, I don't want to be alone. I know that now. I don't know how to be the man you need me to be, the man you deserve. I don't know how to do this. And she tells him to stay, meaning don't leave London like he had originally planned, and they'll get through this together. If we do this, nothing else will matter. They kiss. He picks her up. She climbs on top. They do their thing. And when I say they do their thing, I mean watch this scene, because they do their thing. And again, without going too far here, because YouTube, he he does his part, and he doesn't pull out like he normally does. So they lock eyes and smile, and this indicates that apparently he's now open to having children, potentially. So, intense scene. Highly recommend you watch it. So good. Love this show so much. So good. So, Colin is preparing to leave for his big adventure. We see the Featheringtons crying because, of course, they lost their dad. Penelope's crying with Eloise, saying that Eloise is so sweet, saying she's here to help her, and she'll find a reason every day to endure the absence of her dear papa. Because remember, of course, the Bridgertons lost their dad as well. Penelope asks if Eloise saved Whistledown. She says yes. And she is sure Whistledown will make this right. Meaning that she hopes Whistledown will write good things about the Featheringtons. Ha ha ha. Marina asks Lady Featherington how she endured 22 years of marriage without love. Portia says, you're strong, maybe even stronger than me, and you will do well. Marina says, okay. And basically she ends up going to leave with the brother. She's unsure about this, and Penelope's crying. But that's how this part ends. So this is where I was going with that. So now that she's decided to marry the brother, and we learn that he has a title and some means about him and stuff, I just wonder, this would be a really interesting storyline if she's going to have to step in and support the Featheringtons now, since Baron Featherington squandered away all the money. So an interesting thing, when Marina climbs in the carriage, watch her. She's such a good actress. She scoots away just a little bit because she's just unsure. She feels like she has to do this. Penelope's crying. So the housekeeper says that she found the man who will inherit the Featherington house, the Featherington estate. And she hands Baroness Featherington a slip of paper. And Baroness Featherington is completely surprised, but we don't get to see the name, and I'm dying. You guys, what a cliffhanger. Who's going to inherit the estate? Whose name is on that paper? Maybe it's somebody we haven't met yet. Or maybe they'll turn tradition on its ear and make it one of the girls or something. I don't know. Typically, women didn't inherit back in this day. So I'm very curious how this will go. And who will inherit the house and what will end up of the girls. So Colin's going to Greece. He's telling everybody goodbye. The Duke and Daphne have decided to stay on in London and enjoy and just be happy there. Anthony says that he's ready to go out and find his Viscountess and says he's looking to remove romantic love from it because it just distracts him. Eloise is saying to, to Benedict that something about Madame de la Croix, because she still believes Madame de la Croix is Lady Whistledown. So he says he was with Madame de la Croix last night and that she never left town. Eloise realizes with a shock, oh my God, he was with her all night. She never left. So that's not her that was in the carriage. She says, oh dear, and is completely shocked. Then we hear oh, you guys have chills. We hear the voiceover of Whistledown, who says, I recently became aware of a scheme to unmask me by one worthy opponent indeed. Perhaps I will come forward one day, but that is entirely up to me. And then, you guys, we see this hooded figure, and we see the letter as it's going to the printer. Oh, I have chills. And who is it? Oh my gosh, it's Penelope! I guessed her, but I wasn't sure, and then I was convinced it was Madame de la Croix. For a little bit, I thought maybe it was the Queen. No, it's Penelope. So I have so many questions. Why then did the Featheringtons get such a bad rap in the paper? I guess she's pissed at her family too, so that's their way of revenge. But I love it. I love that she's Lady Whistledown. I love that Eloise has been investigating the whole time, and it's her. Then, oh, you guys, we see Daphne pushing out a baby. So the last scene, a little baby is born. She's crying as she gives birth, and the Duke kisses her. And this immediately struck me because they made such a big deal. When the Duke was born, his dad made a big deal about, he didn't even pay attention to the wife. The wife ended up passing away. He was only interested, not even in the baby itself, just that he had an heir. That was his whole purpose. Yet when Daphne gave birth, immediately the Duke gives her a kiss, and he cares about her. And then they find out it's a little boy. Aww. She asks if he wishes to hold him, and he says yes, and smiles at the baby. So he's already a great dad. He loves this kid. He doesn't care if anything's not perfect. They try to come up with a name, and the Duke says it must begin with the letter A, because of course that's what the Bridgerton tradition is. Each kid, different letter of the alphabet, starts with A and follows from there. And he says we have family traditions. And then we see a bee on the windowsill. So this has been a theme throughout. We see lots of bees. We see it in the opening scenes and stuff. So it just all came full circle. And it was such a good ending to such a good show. I love seeing this. I love seeing this little baby. And seeing that they finally found their happiness. And they got everything that they wanted. And then some. So good for them. Such a good show. I'm so glad I got into this. I loved it. I loved all of it. I love all the characters. So well written. Another home run from Shonda Rhimes. I mean, fantastic. I can't wait. I will be sticking with this show for sure. I'm so excited that there's going to be a season 2 for sure. And I hope for many more after that. I want to see what goes on. So many interesting storylines, so many interesting characters. I think there's just so much so much more story to be told about them. So fantastic. You guys, thank you so much for sticking with me. I know sometimes I butcher these names. Again, there's like 27 characters, so I've tried to do my best to keep them straight. Sometimes I'm able to, sometimes not so much. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed my recaps on this. Stick with me. I do all kinds of different recaps. Check them out. And like I say, as soon as this one comes back, I'll come back too with this. So thank you guys so much. Everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and take care of yourselves. And I will be talking to you very soon. Bye-bye.